Okay, so today we're going to go through section 1.1 and we're going to be talking about variables. We're going to be talking about algebraic expressions. We're going to be talking about order of operations. We're going to be talking about evaluating algebraic expressions, and we're going to be talking about formulas. All right, so let's jump right into it. So with variables, what I want you to think about is, okay, so back in elementary school or even before, we learned the basic 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? We have 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? So what if I told you instead, or I asked you this question, what number plus 1 equals 2? Well, you can obviously tell that this number that's missing has to be, this number right here, it has to be 1, right? Because only 1 plus 1 equals 2. And you would be correct. What if instead I said, what plus 2 equals 5? What would your answer be for that number? What plus 2 equals 5? Well, what number, think about it, what number plus 2 equals 5? Well, the answer is 3. Right? 3 is the number plus 2 that equals 5. Okay? These blanks right here, we can represent those through letters that we call variables. So for example, instead of saying blank plus 2 equals 5, I can say x plus 2 equals 5, where x is my variable. Okay? X is my variable. X is the unknown. It's the thing that I do not know yet what it is, but I can find out. But I don't know yet what it is. Just think about whenever you see a variable, and variables could be any letter, like A, B, C. Usually you'll use X, Y, or Z. Sometimes even variables can be Greek letters like theta or phi. Sometimes we'll use delta, not normally, but all of these just represent some unknown quantity. Okay, just some unknown quantity. That's all it is. So that's what a variable is. It's just a letter that represents an unknown quantity. Now, an algebraic expression is a mathematical sentence with variables and numbers. Okay, so for example, if we had the expression 3 plus x, that would be an algebraic expression. Okay. If I have 6x plus 12, or this means written out is 6x, 6 times x plus 12, that is an algebraic expression. If I said 6x plus 12 equals 15, that is no longer an expression. This mathematical sentence is what we call an equation because the equal sign is now here. So just think, a mathematical expression is like something like 3 plus x. A mathematical equation is something, we'll get to that later, is something with an equal sign in it. That's the main difference. Okay, so we talked about algebraic expression. We've talked about variables. Let's talk about the order of operations. Now, many of you have heard of this mnemonic called PEMDAS. Something like this, P-E-M-D-A-S. Now, if you haven't heard of PEMDAS, you might have heard of Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. And all this means is it tells you the order in which to evaluate an algebraic expression. For example, if you had 3 plus 2 plus 2, something like that. Well, what you should do is deal with what's inside the parentheses first. So you would add 2 plus 2 together. You'd have 3 plus 4, which then gives you 7. Okay. So I followed PEMDAS. I did the parentheses first, and then that gave me 4. 2 plus 2 gave me 4. And then I did addition later on. As you can see, it comes later. Okay. So this will be example 1. So for example 1, we've got evaluate a plus b minus 2 squared. And we have that if a equals 3 and b equals 6. So we're evaluating if a is equal to 3, b equal to 6. So what you do is you're going to replace a with 3. So we're going to, and whenever I replace something, I just put a little parentheses around it. Okay. And now we're going to replace b with 6. So that's going to be plus 6 minus 2 squared. Notice the only thing we did is we changed a to be 3, and we changed b to be 6. Now that we've done that, we can say 3 plus 6 minus 2 squared, which, once again, using PEMDAS, 6 minus 2 gives us 4, which then gives us 3 plus 16, which is 4 squared. Remember, squared is just 4 times itself, any number times itself. And then 3 plus 16 gives us 19, which is the answer. Suppose that we have the expression x plus y times y squared minus x if x equals 2. So let's say x equals 2 and y equals negative 3. X equals 2, y equals negative 3. All right, so in this case, we're going to replace, once again, everywhere there was an x, we will now replace it with 2. So we'll have 2 plus 3, negative 3 here. Remember I said put parentheses around everything when you are substituting back in. Negative 3 squared minus 2. All right, so the first part's easy. 2, nothing happens to it, it's just 2. Nothing happens is negative 3, so it's just negative 3. So we'll just leave it as negative 3 for now. And you could put minus 3 here, but for now I'm just going to hold on to this negative 3. Here's a little odd. If you have negative 3 squared, what you're saying is I have negative 3 times itself. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so the answer is positive 9. Now, the difference would be if you had negative 3 squared. In this case, what you're saying is negative, and then you have 3 times 3. Because by PEMDAS, you should deal with the exponent part first and then deal with the negative. But in this case, we have this right here, negative 3 in parentheses squared, which gives us positive 9 minus 2, which now gives us 2. And then we can make this negative 3 times, and then 9 minus 2 is 7, which gives us 2 minus 21. And it's minus 21 because negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. 2 minus 21 gives us negative 19. Did you get that? Okay, great. All right. So let's say that we have the expression. So this will be example 3. We have the expression c squared plus 3 d to the 4th c over c cubed plus 2 times d. And we're saying where d is -2 and c is -3. Okay. To do this problem, what we're going to need to do is, once again, replacing all of these variables with the numbers they represent. So we're going to have -3 squared plus 3 times -2 to the 4th power times -3. We're going to have that all over -3 to the 3rd power plus 2 times -2. Okay, so let's work through these one at a time. This first one is -3 squared, which is, as we did before, was -3 times -3, right? -3 times -3 gives you +9. So the first slot at the top, that's going to be just 9. Now, if we evaluate this piece, in particular, this portion right here, we'll just have 3, and then we'll have -2 to the 4th power. Now, this means that you've got -2 times -2 times -2 times -2 4 times. So if you multiply a negative times a negative, you get a positive. You multiply by, so this positive number now is multiplied by a negative, which gives you negative. But if you multiply by a negative again, you now get a positive. So you can tell that this answer would be positive. And then you have 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8, times 2, which is 16. So the answer is positive 16. Of course, nothing else changes. Now, very similarly, we've got now -3 cubed, which we have -3 times -3 times -3. And once again, we've got a negative times a negative, which gives us a positive. And then we multiply again times another negative, which gives us a negative. So this answer is going to be negative. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So -27 is the answer right here. And then plus 2 times -2 is going to be -4. So we'll just hold on to that for now. So how do we rearrange this? We can now say 9 plus, let's see, 3 times 16 is 48. 48 times 3 is going to be 144. Yeah, 144. And actually, it won't be plus. Let me get rid of this. We've got only one minus sign here, so it's going to be minus in this case. So -144. Then we've got -27 and then -4. All right, so now we got 9 minus 144, which is going to give us -135, divided by -27, and then you're subtracting 4. So you can think about it as like I start out negative and I become more negative. So -27 minus 4, it gives us -31, and you've got a negative in the top divided by a negative in the bottom. That's just going to be positive. So you got 135 divided by 31. Your answer sometimes will be fractions. That's okay. It's not a big deal. Okay. So if you get an answer as a fraction, that's okay. Just leave it as a fraction. It's all right. All right. The last thing we're going to talk about in this lesson is formulas. And formulas are just an algebraic expression that is used to denote a relationship between things. For example, a very famous formula that you had back in geometry is area equals base times height. All right, area equals base times height. And this, of course, was talking about, if you'll remember, this is when you have a rectangle. Right, if you want to figure out the area of the rectangle, we could say that this here is the base of the rectangle, and we can call this the anyway. All right, yeah, that's why I'm a math teacher, right? So we got the base and we got the height. Now, The area of this, or in other words, all this shaded piece inside of here, is if you just take the base and then you take the height, that gives you the area. So for example, if the base was 3 and the height was 5, we know the area would be 15, right? Or more importantly, if the base is 3 centimeters and the height is 5 centimeters, then we know the area would be 15 centimeters squared. Why? Because you'd have 3 cm times 5 cm. 3 times 5 is 15, and then cm times cm is going to be cm squared. So this would be 15 centimeters or 15 square centimeters. So let's look at a problem. Let's say you're laying a foundation. Okay, you're laying a foundation for, I don't know, maybe a platform or something like that. And you know it's going to be, you need 8 feet by, I don't know, 12-foot foundation. Okay, and this is a rectangular foundation here. Okay, so we know we've got this rectangular foundation, and we know it's going to be 8 foot by 12 foot. So if it looked like this, you know, it doesn't really matter, right? So we've got 8 foot by 12 foot base times height, and we want to figure out, okay, how much area am I covering? Well, we can now use our formula. We can say, okay, well, if A equals base times height, then my area would just be the base, which is 12 feet in this case, times the height, which is 8 feet. All right. So the expression, the algebraic expression, is just BH, right? And so A equals BH, we can say that this is 12 feet. This is 8 feet, and I know I'm repeating myself. I just want to make sure everybody's good. 12 feet by 8 feet is going to be 96 feet squared, or 96 square feet. And that's it. I hope you were able to gain something from the examples and whatnot. Look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.